Mac and cheese is good too.
I'll make some mac and cheese instead of this.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to get you to this witness in the Rayshard Brooks case, but I can't let these lies about coronavirus go unchecked. It's too important. 21 states have cases that are surging. You know that. But the president won't acknowledge the reality, and a president has power. Trump was interviewed by a local TV group a short time ago, and he was asked about his upcoming campaign rally in Tulsa. Oklahoma has a problem with case growth. He said, quote, "If you look, the numbers are very minuscule compared to what it was."
They're lying. What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy SJC. We're back live. I signed out live. Scuffed. Jim Carrey on YouTube. SJC. I'm your host, Scuffed Jim Carrey. In case you didn't know. In case you didn't know. Yo, I'm here. I'm back. I just came to eat, and then I'm going back to bed. Sorry, boys. Handy's on.
Again,
Hannity.
you can't resist a police officer like that, and they ended up
Trump.
in a very terrible disagreement. And look at the way it ended. Very bad, very bad.
What you making over there?
Terry McAuliffe, you talked about
Fish
in your
sticks?
interview with my colleague and friend.
Yeah, I'm gonna eat
Harris
some
Faulkner,
fish sticks.
You talked about Joe Biden almost having compassion on him a lot of ways. Terry McAuliffe actually said, I'm fine with him staying in the basement. He only sees 2 people a day. It's 2 body men. I'm fine with that. Which I think is a very unusual and unique way to run for president of the United States. To me, I think there are legitimate questions as it relates to mental alertness and, well, let's say stamina and strength and acumen. I would argue just in the last 3+ years, your job is probably the hardest job in the world that I can see. I believe that to be true. Should that be an issue in the campaign?
Well, I think it's going to be an interesting issue, and he's been in the basement for a long time. I think he's really been run beautifully. He's not running his campaign. People are running his campaign. I see quotes all the time that he said this, he said that about me. And long, beautiful, flowing sentences. I said, Joe didn't make that statement. And Joe doesn't even know the statement was made. But they are leaving him there, and at some point he's going to have to come out for air. And I think, look, we've done a great job. We've done a great job. If you look back a few months to an economy that was the greatest of all time, everything we had was at records. Every no matter whether it's unemployment, whether it's the stock market, and now you look at what we're doing. I'm doing it all over again. And we had to turn it over to millions of people. We did. We turned it
Billions
over.
and billions.
We started up again, and we're going to have an amazing year next year. We're going to have a great third quarter. We just had the best jobs numbers, the biggest job gain in history.
Correct.
And we just had the biggest
He's not lying.
retail sales numbers in history for the last month. So we're starting up, and it's going to be very, very strong. We're very close to a vaccine, even with it, without it. But I will tell you, we're very close to a vaccine, and we're very close to therapeutics, really good therapeutics. And but even without that, I don't even like to talk about that because it's fading away. It's going to fade away, but having a vaccine would be really nice, and that's going to happen.
So all these protests have been going on for weeks, and talk about social distancing kind of went away almost completely from what I can tell. There were many people I saw that were not wearing masks, and even some of the politicians now that are critical of you having a rally in Oklahoma on Saturday Now all of a sudden they're saying that it may not be safe. I understand temperatures are going to be taken. I understand people that go are signing a waiver. I understand that masks will be worn by people and even distributed. I think I read somewhere. Maybe you should change the name of the rally and call it a protest, and maybe they will say it's okay then.
Yeah. Well, that's the protests. I mean, the protesters and anarchists and terrorists and looters and all of the people that were marching on various locations over the last couple of weeks. That's died down. They've lost some energy. That's good. But because many of them don't even know what they're protesting.
Yeah, look at the bruises from the top.
You look at that, and they were right on top of each other. Large numbers, pretty large numbers, and they were right on top of each other.
Bad.
And nobody complained. When you look at CNN, it's total fake. It's a fake news operation. And it's really like an extension of the Democrat Party. And then you look at MSDNC, which is DNC.
This is all Portland Andy's fault. You're right. Portland Andy is the one who's egging them on.
You see the way they talk, they never mention that. They don't talk about it. This is all you hear about. Oklahoma, what we're doing, we'll be in Tulsa. You have a great mayor and you have a great governor. Governor Stitt, I spoke to him yesterday. They're so excited about it that you have no idea. And we have had so many sign-ups. You know, there are lines of people now, and we won't be there for 3 days. They have lines of people right now trying to get into the arena.
Why is he talking out
his nose? They'll be early. They'll be in one of those early front rows.
No, this is from the police.
How many people signed up, do you know?
Over 1 million people requested tickets.
Dude, it looks a lot worse.
Well, there's just a hunger for the rallies, and I enjoy doing them, but they enjoy them more importantly than me. They enjoy them. It gives energy to everybody, and we have tremendous enthusiasm. If you look at the polls, we're way ahead of Sleepy Joe in terms of enthusiasm like they've never seen before, actually. And Joe has the lowest, I hear, enthusiasm on record. Now, they have a party, and the party believes in a lot of bad things. Open borders, sanctuary cities.
Yeah, Trump.
Supposedly like a Tijuana.
No, Trump's going to get him.
Miles of wall.
Trump's going to get Sleepy Joe.
Very soon. We're going to celebrate over 200, but it's 212 miles now. Nobody is getting through. And very few people are coming through on our border. We have a tremendous border. But think of it, in Tijuana, Tijuana, Mexico, it's one of the most infected places on earth. And we have a wall between Tijuana and San Diego. You know, it's like a beautiful,
big wall, Trump.
Very powerful wall. And California is very happy that we have it because they wouldn't have any numbers. They would have numbers like you wouldn't believe right now if we didn't have that. So we've done a great job. We were very early to the call, as you know, because you're one person that reports it. But when we heard about it, I made the decision not to let people from China come in. We love people from China, but they were having a tremendous problem. And at the end of January, I said, you can't come in. You can't come in. We saved tens of thousands, and everybody, even our critics, give me credit for that. But we saved tens of thousands of lives, and then I banned Europe from coming in because Europe, many of the people that couldn't come in went to Italy and they went to Spain and France. We had to ban Europe, and we did that fairly shortly thereafter. So we've been very early, and our testing has been phenomenal. And we came up with ventilators.
Is that a baby filter? Is that what it is?
Making thousands of ventilators.
Or is that really her face, though?
I can't tell. It looks like filters.
That needed a ventilator,
like the glossing on the eyes.
Has not gotten one. Every single person that needed a ventilator got one, and
is that her?
It's been incredible. Now we're helping other countries because it's hard to make. They're expensive and they're big.
Fuck no.
They're very highly complex.
I'm gonna block her.
And we're helping other countries, many other countries.
I'm blocking her.
Ventilators.
Let me ask you, it was 10 days after the first identified case of corona in the U.S. when you had the travel ban. You had to quarantine in 15 plus years, in my understanding. Then the subsequent travel ban, you were called racist, xenophobic, hysterical, fear-monger. That was 10 days after the first case here. I'm told, according to my sources, that everybody that was advising you didn't think it was necessary. The models were wrong. Predictions were wrong all the way around. I don't know why they've been so wrong. China lied. What made you at that moment make that one decision? Because that seems critical to me.
Well, I was seeing information that China, Wuhan in particular, was very heavily infected. And I just said, look, why are we doing this? And let's see. And at that time, we didn't know it affected the elderly much more so than children. That's why we have to open our schools in the fall. The children, the numbers are very, very small.
Wait. Make it sad face. Make it sad face, right?
And it's an incredible thing. Their immune system is very strong. And so we have to get the schools open, and I'm sure they'll be open. I think most of them, if people are doing the right thing, they're going to be opening up schools. Too much of a strain in many ways and unfair to the children. Heavily infected areas, and that it was going to be that contagious. It's a highly contagious. There's been
He's right down the street from here.
Since 1917, over
Hi,
100
Shriki,
years
you wanna
ago,
hang out?
probably
Let's go see Trump.
50 to 100
You
million
see
people
Trump.
died. Probably ended World War I because all the soldiers
He's so
they were
smart.
so sick. And
So
it probably
Trump.
He's
that
pretty
was
smart.
one thing. It ended World War
He's
I
rich.
very likely.
I got tackled by police.
Nobody had any idea it was
They
going to be
hated her.
this kind of contagious. It has been
There-
really rough, but we've learned a lot, and we're doing
It's not-
really great in the laboratories. And we're going to have a...
Well, I don't think it's funny. I just think it's funny that people assume that
John
he
Bolton,
that
who
in
worked
me.
for you, has a book, and in that book, he's claiming that you, as
before
China,
I'm on the
for
front
help with
cover
your
of IP2.
re-election, your trade representative, by the way, the U.S. trade representative,
you can have a dark-
breaking
a
came out
dark
with
sense of
statements
humor.
claiming that is false and denies it. They
Now they
just recently released
Rufus, you
documents
made me
tonight and
feel bad
affidavits
now.
that says the NSC has determined that the information in the manuscript is classified as confidential, secret, top secret levels. Accordingly, the publication release of the room where it happened would cause irreparable harm because the disclosure of instances of classified information in the manuscript reasonably could be expected to cause serious damage or exceptionally grave damage to the national security of the United States. I went back, I think it was a month before he was fired, and I have a whole series of articles, I don't have time for them all, in an interview with my former fellow colleague, Greta Van Susteren. Bolton said, I think one thing you could be sure of, this is just before he got fired, is President Trump's not going to make the mistakes of prior administrations here that succumb to the idea that if you give them economic benefits, you automatically count on them following through with their commitments. He said on your views on Russia, the president gets criticized for being soft on Russia. I'm still waiting to see evidence of that. He's authorized us to take very strong action against election meddling by anybody, strong action against intrusions into our information technology systems of countries like Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran. What is your reaction to this charge and this claim of the president, and what now the government is saying basically it's compromising national security is the way I interpret that?
Well, first of all, nobody has been tougher on Russia.
Hey, how'd this happen?
Nobody even close. China's paying us billions of dollars a year. They never gave us 10 cents, and Biden's son walked away with $1.5 billion to manage, making hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars over.
Where's the other half of the cup?
Nobody has been tough on China, and nobody has been tough on Russia like
It
I
looks
have.
pretty. It looks like a flower.
And that's in the record books, and it's not even close. So the last administration did nothing on either. And then in terms of Bolton, he broke the law. He was a washed-up guy. I gave him a chance. He couldn't get Senate confirmed, so I gave him a non-Senate confirmed position where I could just put him there, see how he worked.
Oh, yeah, he said he had
I
smoke for
wasn't
months.
very enamored. He went into the Middle East. He was one of the
that
big
'cause of me?
guns for let's go into Iraq. That didn't work out too well, and I was against that a long time
You
ago
relapsed
before I was
on
ever
me?
even thinking about doing what I'm doing now. But he was one of the people who wanted to go to Iraq. When I asked him about it, I said,
Get Sleepy Joe out of the
About
office.
a month in, when he was about a month in, I said, what do you think? Do you think you made a mistake there? No, I don't
think the
so.
plan
I don't
is for
think so. I
Trump to
said,
become
explain that one.
president again.
Trump.
So,
Trump.
terrible,
Trump.
terrible
I'm not
thing
saying I
that he did,
agree,
but he broke
but-
the law.
Oh, he's
Very
gonna
simple.
win.
I mean,
Stop it.
as much as it's going to be broken,
don't
this is
chew 'em.
highly classified. That's the
You're
highest
gonna
thing.
jinx
It's
'em.
highly classified information, and he did not have approval. That's come out now very loud and very strong. And I appreciate Ambassador Lighthizer in front of the committee today on an unrelated topic.
Ricky, do
They
you
asked him that
wanna
question. One of
go
our
to the
friends in the
beach?
Democrat Party was very nice to ask him the question. And then he said, absolutely not. Trump was tough on China. But
They
nobody's
donated
been tough
money
like
for my
me.
cake.
Nobody's been tough like me on China. Taking in
Sasha
account
gave 20
billions
bucks.
and
What's your
billions of
favorite
dollars
kind of cake?
from China. I gave a lot of it to the farmers because the farmers were targeted by China. Nobody's ever
cream.
done that.
Wasn't it
That's my-
500
the
billion
carnival
for this
one?
Yeah, the Carvel.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Deal, not insignificant.
They're the
and all
best.
the other
Yeah,
trade deals.
I like the crumble in the middle.
Yeah, the stuff in the middle is the
I
best.
mean, everybody knows your opinion on the anthem and kneeling, and you've been very outspoken about it. But comments you made on Colin Kaepernick about if he deserves
Thank you,
to play in the
Joshua.
NFL, if he has to play.
Thank you for everybody who donated
he-
today.
You know, and you're right. He did start.
Karma
off, by
G
the way,
donated.
as a great quarterback. I mean, actually, amazing couple of years. You say didn't end up in terms of being as good a player in some of his later years, but he said he was terrific his first 2 years.
I don't have black eyes, I
and
just
then he
have
wasn't
dark
playing up
circles.
to
Karma
snuff.
G.
He said the answer is
It's
absolutely,
genetic.
I
It's
would,
bad genes.
you know,
Oh, no.
love to see
That's
him get
fucked
another
up.
shot.
Karma
And,
G, it's not funny.
Obviously, he has to play well.
What?
If he can't, no, but you would like to see him get another shot. I found that interesting.
Should I show them?
Look, you know, he can only get
That
it if he
was
has
fast.
the ability. They're not going to lose games because of, you know, wanting to be
Should I
politically
show them?
correct or
I don't
whatever
know, it might
term
be
you might,
taken
I
out
don't know
of
if that's
context.
politically correct or the opposite. But if he has the ability, look, he was a great
I think I
rookie,
should show them.
and his second year was great. And then after that, he started going downhill rather rapidly, and then he was out of football, and then he started suing everybody. And I think he made a lot more money doing that than he did with football. But it was if he has the ability, if somebody would take
Dude,
him.
I
I
actually
look, I
look
know a lot of these
scared.
owners. If they had games, they'll sign him. It
I
doesn't
look
matter
like
who
I'm
they
a
are.
better
They'll sign
actor
him.
than
And,
you. Holy
you know,
shit.
I don't
Dude,
wanna
Karma
go
G was
with-
way
with-
fast.
Another subject, but I figure it's your next question. When the national anthem plays,
She was
and the
shook.
the great American flag is raised,
She got spooked.
you should not be kneeling. You should be standing, ideally with your hand on your heart, or saluting, but they should not be kneeling. They can protest enough, and I saw the NFL get very weak. I saw Drew Brees, who's a warrior, a great quarterback.
It's
Fan of
from
his.
the
I'm a fan of
cops.
his.
I got
I
tackled.
saw
It
him make
doesn't
this
even look.
beautiful
It doesn't
statement,
hurt that
and then the
bad.
next day he retracted the statement. He talked about his father and his grandfather fighting
The
in the
fall
war
didn't
for
even look
a
bad
country,
too.
a flag, and
Honestly,
then the next
not
day he
really.
retracted it.
This looks like a
I
white
just don't get that. But you have to stand when the flag goes up, and I think they'll lose a lot of fans and a lot of support in the NFL.
But I'm pretty sure
That
this is
already
from the
happened
cops.
before. I
It's on
thought
the
they
same-
learned their lesson, but I think it's going to happen
This
again.
is
And
a
I was
hickey.
surprised at
It's a
Roger
bite.
Goodell that he would have done what he did and made the statement that he made. Nobody was even asking for it.
This is for.
Let me go back to
This is from the
COVID
cops.
and the
This one's
economic
from the cops.
recovery. You did mention, you know,
I hit
just like the
that side of my
coronavirus
shoulder.
models, predictions, they were so off base. I mean, shockingly so. But with all of that said, and nobody predicted, you know, they were predicting, I think it was a 9 million job loss in May, and
Just
ended
was
up
beating
gaining
when he
2.5
had
million.
EB. What's
Then you
EB?
had a record retail sales at 18%. We see in a Gallup poll that you're doing better even now on this issue than Obama ever did at any point of his
No, it
presidency.
doesn't hurt at
How
all. It
worried
looks
about
really
Are
bad.
you about, well, we know it's
But
when,
it
not
doesn't
if, in
hurt.
terms of hotspots
I was always sore
emerging.
like the next day.
And
like the next 2
we've now
days.
been dealing with them. How confident are you that we're able to get on them quick enough so that we don't ever find ourselves
I
in
like
a position
how-
again to have to
one
shut
thing I
down,
like
you know, a big
about
portion of the economy in the country, and that would be, again, the
is
cure can't be worse than
He
the
is
disease, right?
different.
Well, we'll get on it. That's
Kind
what my
of-
original
You're
statement.
kind
The
of
cure can't be worse
shameless
than the
too,
disease
huh?
itself.
You're like
We'll
shameless
get on
about
it
how
quickly. We're
different
working
you are.
with
Which also
governors.
is
Some
kind
of them
of
are really
like
outstanding, like in Oklahoma.
not
as an
necessarily a
example.
good thing for other
We're
people, but
working
for
with,
you, you're like,
the
fuck it.
governors,
And
and we're
you're
working
like,
with local
you
representatives.
live in a
and
car and
mayors.
you're like, whatever.
We're
That's just
supplying
part of
them
my
what
life
they
right
need,
now.
including the ventilators. Now we don't need any, no matter what. We have that taken care of.
Does anyone see
We're in great
flowers
shape
in
to
here?
put out the, I used to call them the embers or the flames. They flare up in certain areas a little bit, but I think we'll put them out very quickly, and we won't be closing the country again. We won't have to do that. But
Maybe why
at the
don't you come
beginning,
hang
I tell
out
you, if we
with
didn't do
us?
what we did,
Are
we
you
made all the
shy?
right moves, Sean, we would have lost anywhere from probably 1.5 minimum. Now you have to understand that's 10 times what we're talking about now. 10 times. Think of that. It was with all the loss, multiply times 10. That's at a minimum, and you could have gone up to 3.5 or more million people, and that's many times more. So we closed
Last
it.
I remember
We also
hearing
learned a
from
lot about
fires
it. Who
over
it
here.
attacks. It attacks different people, but it doesn't attack the young, as we said, but it does attack
Was
senior
when
citizens, older
Dwayne
people,
was,
especially
like,
if they have
shit,
a
was,
problem
like,
with their
talking
heart,
shit.
if they have diabetes, they get attacked violently by this horrible disease. China should have kept it where it was. They could have easily stopped it. They either lost control, they either suffered great incompetence, something happened, or I don't know.
Oh, you guys
worst
are
thing
like
would
a
be
cute
is
community.
if they knew this was going to happen. Because other than just tonight, I heard, and yesterday,
Don't point your toes.
it hit Beijing to a certain extent, and we'll see what happens there. Just hit Beijing, but other than that, they've kept it inside, and
This shit's
except when it
fucking
came to
broken.
letting it hit the rest of the world.
It's
Only
tripping me out.
139 days till Election Day. Reince Priebus was on the show the other night saying maybe you and Joe Biden, if he gets out of his basement, can have more than the usual 3 debates that a president would have. Would you like that? And or do you like it the way it is? Do you have any fear that Joe's going to try and duck him? We only have 30 seconds, sir.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, but he had
frankly
to.
like
He
it. I
had,
can tell you would
he
like
had
it.
to
Television would like it.
disappear.
Your companies would like it.
So he gets
But
his
I would,
money.
that would be fine if they'd
I
like to
mean,
do it.
like,
I'm
in the
open to
long
whatever you
run,
want to do, Sean.
He's got like
Get the word out.
what? How old is he
Thank
now?
you, sir, for being with us. We
He's like
appreciate
30.
it. Really troubling
Dude,
times
he's 30
for
now,
all
right?
Americans. Thank you,
B-Day
sir.
was like in
Thank you
May.
very much, Sean.
It's all the time we have left this evening. Before we go, Father's Day this weekend, Hannity.com. Let not your heart be troubled.
Hannity.
I will give 5 seconds more. Back to her tomorrow.
Trump.
So he has like 5 more years.
Greta.
You know I am about
Coming
hitting
on
the post.
in.
I like to hit the post.
Who hurt your feelings?
Okay. Well, listen, I can't
on
wait.
the radio.
Hannity, I cannot wait until the debates. But
Did I hurt your
don't
feelings?
you get the sense that they're
Yeah, that's
not
going
going
to
to
be
happen?
Super Bowl ratings.
Yeah, I know someone
I'm not
else
sure
that
they're
has
gonna
like a
happen.
fund, a trust fund, and they have to wait till they're 35 too, and they're from like the UK.
Debates because Terry McAuliffe is fine with him in his basement where he only sees 2 people a day.
That's what I'm guessing.
I'm just saying something
Sleepy
will
Joe.
occur that will make it less likely.
Last time I talked
that
to him,
multiple
they were
debates
having a hard
happen
time
if
getting
any
him a
debates happen.
place.
That is my prediction, but I could be wrong.
That would be unfair to the country. That can't happen.
No, as if they were. As
The
if they
first
care
time I
about
talked
that
to him,
at this point, but it was
he
a
was,
fascinating
like,
interview. I have to
in
watch
a
it. I
halfway
missed the last 10
living,
minutes, but I'll go back
and
and listen
he
to it.
snuck
Sean,
in
thanks
a
so much.
phone.
Great show. Thanks, Laura.
All right, I'm Laura Ingram.
And
This
then
is the
he was,
Ingram
like, all in
Angle
the middle of our
from Los Angeles
conversation.
tonight
He's
in
like,
a
"You're funny,
shockingly
that turns
political
me
speech.
on."
The Fulton County District Attorney
He was like,
charged
"Wanna watch
former
me
police
jerk
officer
off in the
Garrett
shower?"
Love with
I was like,
11
"Okay,
counts in the
whatever."
death of Rayshard Brooks. Now, the charges include
He was like
felony
rubbing
murder
shampoo on his
and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon that, if convicted, carry the possibility of life in prison or even the death penalty.
He
Tonight,
was
in an
really bad
exclusive
connection,
interview,
and then,
Ross
like,
Lloyd will be
later-
here
What's-
to
this
present
is it?
his case and
Later-
explain
Oh, there's more.
why the DA
Later.
was not telling the
He
truth.
got-
Also, Raymond
he got,
Royal
like, kicked
will
out
bring
or
us a
something for
shocking
it.
crime
They
caught
found
on
his
tape.
phone in his
Plus, who's the
streaming.
bravest celebrity in Hollywood? Seen and unseen has answers. But first, 4 years angle. All right, never-Trumpers and mainstream Democrats have tried to convince independent voters that a Joe Biden victory in November will it'll just get us back to some sense of normalcy.
I ain't hitting no
I'm
one.
here tonight to tell
Craft
you
dinner.
nothing could be
Spirals.
further from the truth. Now, all you need to do is watch, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes of Biden speaking live on almost any subject, and you'll know he's extremely weak. Now, at best, he'll be a figurehead president, and without the physical, mental, or intellectual strength to stand up to the radicals on the left, whatever sense he had will be quickly overwhelmed. Now, right now, the
At
most
best.
extreme abolish America elements on the left are emboldened. You can see it, you can feel it. They have cultural power, they have momentum, they have street energy, and now they have money. Almost 30 years ago, Bill Clinton stood up to them. He had his sister soldier moment, remember, in 1992? And the cultural Marxists were kept at bay during the Obama years by the sheer force of his place in history. Well, Biden has no such aura. They're going to treat him as they treat someone like, I don't know, Ralph Northam. You either give us what we want, or we're going to make your life miserable. And Biden will give them what they want. Now, that's bad news for the rest of us. Now more than ever, we need a president with courage to stand up to the hard left. Because if they get power, they will make Americans suffer through intimidation and bullying campaigns. Disagree with them, and you'll be branded a racist.
True.
And if you're black and you disagree with them, you're just an Uncle Tom.
Yep.
It's disgraceful what's going on, and it's already happening. The idea that President Biden would return America to some quaint imagined past.
You're just an Uncle Tom if you go along with their agenda.
If he wins, the hard left wins. And that means that the culture wars are going to get a lot worse than they are right now. His administration will use the full reach of the executive branch to torment all political and cultural enemies. Anyone who has a traditional view of American history, or let's say Bible-believing Christians, observant Jews, even Muslims, religious schools, all of them will be marked for punishment. Now, statues coming down, that's going to be the least of our problems. Their aim is to pull down our whole culture, the American founding, Western civilization, and everything that sprang from it. Remember what Reverend Jeremiah Wright said?
No, no, no. Not God bless America. God damn America.
Well, from their way of thinking, anything you have earned is just a product of oppression. It's the poisonous fruit of the deadly American tree. You didn't build that. Now, it was foolhardy of colleges and universities to give so much power to these Marxist anti-American forces, but they did, and it's happened over decades. But now, we're all going to pay. Look out, Washington Monument? Nah, that's never going to happen. Washington Monument's not going to come down. Oh, really? It's starting to happen. And the self-loathing anti-Americanism is infecting even high schools now. Like Little Harpeth Hall all-girls school near Nashville that announced it was ending its Washington celebration because, and I quote, it does not demonstrate the significant role that women, people of color, and other unrepresented groups play in our nation's history, and a growing number of students, faculty, staff, and alumni are expressing their comfort with this tradition. Discomfort with this tradition. Now, this line of thinking is going to spread under President Biden. Many of his backers are embracing his historical view of what's called the 1619 Project. It was published in the New York Times Magazine. Now, the goal of the work is to reframe American history as beginning not in July of 1776, when we declared our independence from Britain, but from the year the first slaves were brought to Virginia, when it was a British colony. Slavery is sometimes referred to as the country's original sin.
It is.
I
But
knew
it
it
is
was
more
coming
than that.
because there wasn't
It is the
really much
country's
going
very
on in the other
origin.
decades.
Out of slavery and the anti-black racism it required grew nearly everything that has truly made America exceptional. Well, of course, slavery was an evil, horrific chapter in American history, and we should teach our children its full, gruesome story, you bet. Along with the often lost fact that the Republican Party was founded as the abolitionist party. But instead, educational arsonists have entered inside powerful teachers' unions and school boards, and it's happening coast to coast. Educators who contend that the Founding Fathers were heroic and brilliant men are liable now to be shouted down as racists or even apologists for segregation. Now, this is a deeply cynical and dangerous view of American history. The authors of the 1619 Project are entitled to their own opinions about America for sure, but not their own facts. Prominent historians, none politically conservative, raised serious objections to the presentation of history by the Times, accusing the project of, quote, a displacement of historical understanding by ideology. Now, here's another gem from them. On the American Revolution, the project asserts that the founders declared the colony's independence of Britain in order to ensure slavery would continue. This is not true. If supportable, the allegation would be astounding. Some of the other material in the project is distorted, including the claim that, quote, for the most part, black Americans had fought their freedom struggles alone. Again, this is all from the renowned historians. Now, despite those very big, bold red flags, school districts in Chicago, in Washington, D.C., and Newark and beyond are completely overhauling their curriculum to incorporate the 1619 Project. Here's what's going on in Buffalo, New York. The Buffalo Public Schools will infuse 1619 Project resources into the mainstream English and social studies curriculum via New York State standards alignment at grades 7 through 12. These efforts will in turn render a true history of the institution of slavery for all students, a history which is often silenced in mainstream curriculum and textbooks.
Yeah, he tweeted that.
If Biden wins in November, now this won't just be relegated, by the way, to Democrat-controlled cities or places like Buffalo. Now, it's going to be mandated nationally. Biden's allies have soaked it all in and are already trying to level everything that came before us to settle scores.
The United States didn't inherit slavery from anybody. We created it.
What communities of color and indigenous communities are facing today is the direct result of 400 plus years of intentional decisions to create and sustain systems.
Through 400 years of American history, black oppression has always existed in this country, just in different forms.
Yes, as Vice President Biden said, you know, the wound, we actually have an opportunity to treat the wound this time. We cannot allow it to just scab over.
Remember, this worldview is quite simple. There really is no redemption for America. Only punishment. Some reckoning is coming. And imagine the Department of Education going after schools and teachers who disagree with the 1619 Project, even though those renowned historians did. Imagine the Department of Justice using the ideas of that project to decide who goes free, who gets prosecuted. Imagine all the immense resources of the executive branch being used to punish anyone who stands up to the hard left, with an angry media cheering all the way. If Joe Biden wins in November, you won't have to imagine much longer. But I'm here tonight to also tell you it's not too late. We can and we must defeat these radicals who will use Biden as their figurehead to impose their anti-American agenda on the rest of us. And we have to teach American liberals to stop this crazy radical program that's captured the Democratic Party. Who do people want peace and prosperity for people of all races and creeds? They do not want poverty and punishment. We cannot only win this argument, but in the process we'll save our country.
Are you serious, Kim?
This worldview of Joe Biden
Keemstar.
will not only penalize the economy, it's going to usher in a period of prolonged antagonism toward each other and to the principles that made us the freest, most prosperous nation on the planet. And that's the angle. Joining me now is Dinesh D'Souza, conservative commentator and author of United States of Socialism. He also has a new film coming out called Trump Card. Also with me is Cynthia Garrett. He's the founder of Cynthia Garrett Ministries and author of I Choose Victory. Dinesh, we were told for years that the culture wars were just a waste of time. And a lot of economic conservatives, fiscal conservatives, said just focused on the free market and capitalism. But at this moment in time, we see why they were so important. Just focusing for a moment on education and what's happening to our education system. Explain.
Yeah. Last time you streamed,
a lot of the thuggery, the gangsterism, the knocking down of monuments, the unlawful occupations that we see around us, all of this is reflecting the radicalization of academia over the past couple of decades. One could almost say that academia is the theory and Antifa is the practice. And initially the attacks were on the Confederate monuments and people kind of looked the other way. But it's really interesting to see how quickly have metastasized into attacks on Washington, attacks on Jefferson, and I think most tellingly attacks on Abraham Lincoln. Because right away we have a puzzle. Here's America's greatest president, the guy who freed the slaves.
Yeah, they were mean to my friend Alex.
Why go after him?
He was very mean.
I think the answer is that the left secretly hates Lincoln because Lincoln was actually very effective in unmasking the Democratic Party. Lincoln said very significantly about slavery, it's you work and I eat. So for Lincoln, slavery was a kind of economic confiscation. And Lincoln saw that as the core principle of the Democratic Party. Well, fast forward 150 years, and what's the core principle of the left and of the Democrats today? Economic confiscation. You work, I eat. So I think the hatred of Lincoln is that Lincoln had the number of the left. He had the number of the Democrats, and he represented in some ways not only the Republican spirit, but the American spirit.
Cynthia, you've seen what's been happening in recent days and weeks. I think a lot of people have I think righteous anger. I don't blame for a lot of people for being angry at what they're seeing. I don't blame them at all. But the education system and what's happened inside the education system, especially to young and underprivileged kids. I know you've written a lot about school choice, how that's lost in this equation. Tell us about it.
Well, it's completely lost, and the reality is that I think this whole 1619 project and all of this is a red herring. I think the real issue is that they want to give us as African Americans miseducation, and what we need is good education. And that's why I write so much and so passionately about the fact that we really need to focus on dismantling this mess of a public school system that poor Black and brown communities have, and then give the parents the choice. Let parents invest in their children's lives. Our mind is our capital. Blacks want to own businesses and want to participate in this great country. And I think that, focusing a bunch of energy on getting rid of a bunch of statues as if that's going to validate and help anybody learn to do something to advance themselves is ridiculous. It's like choosing to live in a victim's narrative rather than look at the victory. As a matter of fact, if we're to be dealing with education and getting rid of statues, why don't we put all that energy into focusing on more Madam C.J. Walkers and more Jesse Bingas and more Reverend William Randolph Brown, a former slave who in 1888 started the first black bank in his home. In 1889 in Washington, D.C., he was given his bank charter. Why don't we learn what we can do? Why don't we focus on educating whites and blacks about the achievements that we've had, because then young people wouldn't be so hopeless. Because all I've seen, it's not anger and rage, Laura. I've seen hopelessness when I look at the television. It's hopelessness.
I know.
If you don't think you have a life.
And I think you raised such a good point. There are so many wonderful stories about the American experience. We're not perfect. Nobody is. No country is. But Dinesh, you've written about it. Cynthia's written extensively about this. And yet it's all spray paint land, burn, smash someone in the head.
When the cops were talking to me, I was fine.
And that's what we're seeing inside of young people. Instead of, this is what I can do if I work hard, stay out of trouble.
You gotta flip that fish. Show them how you put the fish dicks in your mouth.
Sometimes it's common sense. But I want to read something from the Fairfax County Public Schools in Virginia. Very important school district right outside of D.C. Headline, we need to have a radical transformation, okay? Their plans for the fall take equity anti-racist curriculum, okay?
Your arm looks so bad. It looks so bad. It's like someone put paint on your arm.
Toward anti-racist philosophy as opposed to all of us constantly saying we're not racist. And that's the chairperson, Sajutha Hampton. Dinesh, this is the kind of education, mumbo jumbo that satisfies people symbolically, but does it create a single educational opportunity or business opportunity for young underprivileged kids?
No.
They're not even
No, I
serious
didn't.
about what
Where
they
is it?
say.
I don't know. Have you seen
One
it?
figure who could teach them a lot
I think I
about
lost it in
racism
New
is, in
York.
fact, the greatest
No, you didn't.
black
Yeah, where is
American
it?
of our
I haven't
history,
seen
and that
it.
would be Frederick
You had
Douglass.
it in here.
But Frederick Douglass's
Where?
name never comes up. Why? Because he was a champion of what he called the self-made man. His idea was that the best thing you could do for
Yeah, I don't
blacks
remember
is to
where it
leave
is.
them alone
You had it
and
inside
watch
of
them
your- you had
build
it
up
on
their own
screen.
industries, their own families, and so on. Interestingly, in Chicago, there's a tall statue to a man named Stephen Douglas, Abraham Lincoln's rival. Douglas was a champion of slavery. In fact, he made slavery the centerpiece of the ideology of the Democratic Party. His statue untouched. But Lincoln is under attack. That's because
Watch
the
out with that.
Democrats ultimately prefer Douglas's ideology of enslavement to Lincoln's ideology of liberation.
15 seconds, Cynthia. We gave you a short shrift. We'll have you back. Are you hopeful about the future, given what you've seen just over the past month?
Should I have
Are
my
you still
chest?
hopeful?
Look, I mean, I'm hopeful because I'm a
It's a
woman of
face.
faith, and at the end of the day,
It's a
I
tree.
thank God
Look, it's a
I'm
tree.
in America, an American, because I travel all over the world to countries all over the place who have so much less
What?
than we do. But again,
Stop
that's about
checking me out.
education.
I'm
We
not.
need to really and truly wrestle out of the hands of people that have. I mean, look, they've had enough time. They failed, all of us. You know what I mean? They failed. Like we've got to radically change.
Yeah, we got. And Cynthia, we're going to pick up where you just left off because we're going to go right here
It's
to
not
LA
ready?
Unified.
Yeah, it's still kind of
And
soft.
thank you
It
both for
needs to be
joining us.
more
The left
punchy
doesn't
than
just
that.
want you to overhaul education; they
know.
want to make schools less safe. It turns out. Now, activists here in LA and students also are taking the lead in demanding an end to school safety and police officers. Watch.
I think a lot of the students at LAUSD schools feel targeted.
I don't think we need police on campus. Any sort of
So
issue
dumb.
can be handled by, I think, just if teachers.
What if there's a school shooter?
Yeah, this is dumb.
Support. We need PSWs. We need college counselors.
Why
We
would
need spaces for creative expression.
Creative expression. Joining me now is
Yeah, this
Sergeant
is
Rudy
a
Perez,
racist
the Public
history. I mean, we
Information
also
Officer
don't
for
want to completely
LA
erase it
School
because
Police
then we'll
Department, and
forget
Vice President of the
how we
National
really come
Association
from,
for
you
School
know, like-
Resource Officers. Sergeant
I
Perez,
guess we haven't really made
is the
so
plan
much.
then really to protect kids
Besides, like, tech
what?
How does it make you feel?
Social workers? What about all the schools with gang
Look
violence?
what I got.
That's absolutely true. Thank you for having me on tonight.
How does that make you
That is
feel?
absolutely true.
I love it.
Who's going to respond to the thousands, the 153,000 calls of emergencies we received?
Oh,
in our
no.
organization?
Oh no, what am I watching?
President of the National Association.
No.
I keep asking that question. Who's going to come? Who is going to respond to these serious emergencies? Who is going to respond to the guns and recovering things that we have to deal with properly trained officers,
do not
properly
look like
selected
this crazy
officers?
old lady.
And it's definitely a war. All of a sudden, we became the enemy after feeding 60 million meals in the Los Angeles Unified School District, and it's just very disheartening to see where we're at.
Sergeant Perez,
one's pretty
what
funny.
if you could point to one reason why this has happened? And it seems to have happened quite quickly with this attack on foundational institutions in our
hilarious.
country, such as just the
They
desire
should
to
put
keep the
that
school
in
safe
video
with
games.
resource officers. These are not LAPD. These are school resource officers. What one thing do you think is to blame?
Well, I got to tell you this one. I'll say this.
We need
There's
to buy
a
some
bunch of
Ninja
amazing
Gamers
teachers
play
that have called us and
smoke
that are standing with us. But this radical world that we are living in teachers union, and I'm talking about the leadership, UTLA, to come and attack us and take our budget is absolutely
Joshua
ridiculous.
Tree. Do you know
And
what
once
he's
again,
talking
Yeah,
I
it's in the
just say,
desert.
who's
Fool,
going to
why
do
you
the
want me
job?
to go to the desert?
And keep saying, everybody keeps saying hope and opportunity.
Don't
Well,
you
hope
wanna
and
go back to
opportunity
the
aren't going to
desert?
stand in the
Yeah,
front
but why you want me to go to that? That's
cut
out there.
somebody's head because they
I
have
go
a
to Joshua
bullet in their
Tree,
mind,
but what's out
grab
there?
them and
I
they
was
jump into
right.
the ambulance with them, and God, thank God we saved it.
No, he's saying, why
But
do you
who's
have
gonna
to
do
cover
that?
the
That's the
Sergeant
outside?
Perez, didn't you just hit on it? Last question here.
My balls
There's a
are itching.
$70 million budget. And these teachers' unions and these other groups, they want that honeypot, right? They think that's their honeypot. It'll be used for social justice, various causes, and other affiliated groups. What does that mean? How does that keep someone safe? Or how do you become the mentor, as many of you are, because I've had a chance to talk to you. Many of you are mentors
This
to
is
these
your
kids.
career.
But they want the honeypot. They want the money.
It saddens to me because how quickly did we forget Parkland? How quickly did we forget, Sandy Hook, Virginia Tech, Columbine? How quickly did we just say, okay, they don't matter anymore? All their lives matter, just like the 53 lives that the officers in Los Angeles won medals for life savings. All those lives have mattered now. Now, my question goes back to it is disheartening, but I can tell you this, and I hope the media is catching it. I hope the media really looks deep. If we're really talking about funding, I hope that they come in and see what the teachers' union, and I'm talking about the leadership.
I'm going to come, if I'm allowed, I'm going to come, and we're going to continue this story. Thank you for telling your story tonight. Keep school safe.
You don't know how to
that
turn
shooting
it off?
death Atlanta. Up next.
The fuck? Push cancel.
I did.
No, for the alarm. Push stop. I'm renting. I don't have to. You can't do squatters' rights when you rent, right?
I'm going to LA. Fuck you. I don't want to be here. The tapeworm is hungry. You think I really want to do Instacart forever? Fuck no.
Yeah, you should go back and get into more roles where you place objects down. You're really good at that.
I'm really good at doing that, right? And then when I look at the
That's
camera...
the only acting I've seen you do. You didn't even look up at it.
I'm in the last ship.
That's the last ship.
It was actually a really big TV show. I didn't watch it, but look up the last ship. I'm in season 2.
Which part? Is it on Netflix?
I don't know. I'm in a small part of it.
Do you hear you talk?
No.
Oh.
You just see my face really well.
Okay, what?
Last ship, season 2.
Season 2. What episode?
I think it's episode 3. I don't know. I could tell you. You want me to really tell you?
Yeah. Where's Yellow? I'm on him.
Don't mod him. Yellow's not allowed to be a mod in my fucking shit because he just starts banning people. Because he's out of control. He literally just starts banning people. Because he's a hater.
What if he promised us not to do it?
Dude, Yellow's crazy.
Wait, you get 10% off at Fridays? On Fridays at Dairy Queen?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No.
Wait, I don't even know that's a thing, to be honest, but okay.
Why Dairy Queen?
You like Dairy Queen, right?
What's that guy?
Bitch,
I
you
like
love
to get
Dairy
the
Queen.
chicken strippers.
Hey, look, this is when I butter danced.
Earlier today, the DA of Fulton County, Georgia, charged former Atlanta police officer
fun.
Garrett Rolfe with felony murder and 10
That
other
was a butter
charges
dance.
in the death of Rayshard Brooks. Now,
Let
prosecutors
me
also
find that
charged
part.
a second police officer who was at the scene with aggravated assault and 2 counts of violation of oath by an officer. Rolfe, who was white, shot and killed Brooks, a black man. Last Friday, the shooting occurred after Brooks failed a sobriety test. As he was being handcuffed, Brooks overpowered the two police officers, stole a taser, ran away, and then pointed back at Rolfe with it. And then he opened fire. Now, despite Brooks' actions being caught on a body cam, this is how the DAs recounted the behavior.
Mr. Brooks on the night of the Simpson.
That's on About a Boy.
Calm. He was cordial.
The TV show?
Yeah.
And really displaying a cooperative.
I only saw.
It looks like your hair's the same. So it's just from like 10 years
Oh,
ago.
that's the back of my face. I'm Brooklyn 99.
Never presented himself as a threat.
No. It's from like a year ago.
Former officer Garrett Rolfe's attorney. Lance, were you surprised to hear the DA say Mr. Brooks never presented himself as a threat? It was just a cordial conversation.
It was shocking to hear that because it's not true.
Well, the altercation was obvious to anyone who saw the video. I mean, it went on for 20 minutes, the conversation about, you want to come with us, you want to... And that went on for some time. But then it's clear that he struggled against both officers and overpowered them. So why do you think the DA is emphasizing only the nice conversation part, which the officers demonstrated their professionalism, I thought?
Flip off the camera.
I have no idea why he's doing that. There's a lot of things I have no idea why. He's saying that one of the officers is cooperating with the DA's office, and the lawyer for that officer says that's not true. And what they should be focused on is why it changed from a cordial conversation to a violent assault on two law enforcement officers at the moment that Mr. Brooks is going to jail.
Lance, here's what the DA said about Brooks going after your client with a taser.
Officer Rolfe at this point was firing a taser, and this is Mr. Brooks, who was firing a taser as well. But I don't know if you can see it clearly, but the prongs of the taser were actually fired above Officer Rolfe's head.
So he admits that there was a taser shot at your client, although it went above his head, he said. Now, we're going to get to that in a moment, but I want to show you how he described the use of a taser just 2 weeks ago.
As many of you all know, under Georgia law, a taser is considered as a deadly weapon under Georgia law.
Okay, so Lance, educate me. Is a taser no longer a deadly weapon if it misses the head of a police officer?
Well, if it went over his head, it's because it was aimed at his face. And that's the exact problem with a person who is not trained and why it becomes a deadly, incapacitating weapon, especially in the hands of somebody who has already committed a robbery and forcibly disarmed one uniformed law enforcement officer. When a law enforcement officer uses a taser in the course of a lawful arrest, it is non-lethal force because the officers are trained how to shoot it, where to shoot it, and one of the things that they say is non-lethal, less lethal, or taser. That's done for two reasons. So the officers around them know the officer is not shooting a weapon, and that the suspect's not shooting back at them, because a taser, when it goes off, sounds like a firearm.
Well, here's how the lawyer for the Brooks family described the deadly encounter with your client. Watch.
What we were looking at is, was it reasonable, proportionate, and necessary? You can see the officer reach for the gun before Mr. Brooks turns around with the taser. I mean, that's clearly visible in the video. So he was already going in that direction, going to the lethal force direction, before that taser was pointed in his direction.
Lance, does it matter that he had his hand on his gun?
No, I think at that point, the officers should be wondering what's going on behind him. Is this somebody who has another type of weapon that they didn't see? Is he trying to carjack somebody? Anybody in the area is in danger. And the problem is, and we saw this in the video, the DA broke this down and said, look here, we enhanced the video. They're 12 feet apart. Look here, Officer Rolfe is leaning against a car. Well, he's leaning against a car because he's afraid he's going to get killed. And The officer's mind, brain, and ability to see does not have the ability to enhance video. He's seeing all of this happening very quickly. He's reacting to what's happening quickly. And I'm kind of getting tired of people saying that Mr. Brooks was running away. Mr. Brooks was not running away. Mr. Brooks turned and offered extreme violence towards a uniformed law enforcement officer. If he was able to deploy the taser, it would incapacitate Officer Rolfe through his body armor. And at that point, if he decided to disarm another officer, he would be in possession of a firearm.
And Mr. G.
The DA gave another view, saying that immediately for 2 minutes, I guess, and 12 seconds after the shooting, he said this happened.
There was no medical attention applied to Mr. Brooks. When we examined the videotape and in our discussions with witnesses, what we discovered is during the 2 minutes and 12 seconds
You gotta wake up
that Officer Rolfe actually kicked Mr. Brooks while he laid on the ground.
I want to play this moment that was also caught on body cam and get your response. Now, so I just saw that there was CPR administered, but the DA says it took 2 minutes and 12 seconds to happen. Tonight, can you tell us, is the DA stating that correctly?
My client never kicked Mr. Brooks. If there was a video of my client kicking Mr. Brooks, you would have seen it. He shows a still, and then one leg is planted and the other one's bent. He could be leaning down to try to give him first aid. It could have been when he was trying to evaluate whether he needed handcuffs. And this officer gave him CPR, monitored his pulse prior to that, talked to him to try to keep him breathing, and called for EMS and coordinated other efforts on the scene. You know, and the other thing the DA said was that he's never seen another officer agree to testify against a bad officer. My client testified against an Atlanta police officer in the grand jury when that officer had done something wrong. So this is an officer who's known to the law enforcement community.
We'll get drunk
He's known
Friday.
to the DA's office, and he was
Tomorrow we'll
cleared
get drunk.
of another use of force, and he testified on
Don't get
behalf of the
too drunk,
DA
'cause
to
you get wild.
prosecute a bad officer.
It's a question of whether he's going to be able to get a fair trial in this climate, certainly in the Atlanta area. I know you have a lot of defense motions you'll be filing, Lance, and we just appreciate your coming on and giving us a different perspective. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And coming up, a shocking assault caught on tape, and who is perhaps the, bravest celebrity left?
I'm gonna go to bed, all right?
Raymond Arroyo reveals it all in Seen and Unseen.
All right, guys. I don't know. Do you want to hang out with them or no?
Not really.
She's like, no, fuck you guys. Sorry, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Corinne forever.